We are back on Shattered Darkness. We have a recent guest that has come back, Cash Case. We kind of cut Cash off a little bit early in his story. I feel like, during that episode, we were really having some good conversations. And if you guys haven't listened, we kind of ended, Cash's story ended. And, through his story, he really found a true relationship with Christ and God and has really pressed into that. And so today we're going to kind of talk about the 12 steps of AA or the program and just kind of how he's tied his spirituality inside of those and maybe dug a little bit deeper than the program asks us to go. So we're just going to have conversations around that and, obviously wrap up kind of Cash's story and, just kind of, really help him hopefully develop the next phase of his life and what God's calling him to. So that's what this episode's about. There's going to be some good stuff in here, so definitely tune in. Today, my co-host is Elliot, also producer, this podcast extraordinaire. Aaron couldn't be with us today. He's actually meeting with somebody that needs some help, so he's out in the field doing the work, man, which is good. So anyways, Cash, I just want to say thanks for coming back, brother. I'm excited to continue our conversation, and yeah, how you doing today?
I'm well, man. Thanks for having me back. I think it's cool what you said about Aaron. Like he's out there doing
he's doing
the real thing. Yeah.
And that's the thing, right? It's easy to sit in here and talk about this stuff, right? It's like not easy, but I feel like the real connection and stuff like that happens when you're out meeting with people and meeting them on their level,
For sure.
So and it's been cool too, man. Like I've had a guy recently tell me like nobody's ever reached out to me the way that you did. So it's grace, right? And that's what we're trying to do. It's just like, nah, man, like you just got them bad in toolbox,
Right? Yeah,
like,
yeah.
That's simply like you just grew up. You just grew up in a toolbox, and half your tools don't work. And I was like, we just got to take the bad ones out and replace them with good ones.
Dude, I love that concept. I used that concept 3 days ago talking to my mentor about a situation I had with a friend where I'm like a brother, a good friend. We both got heated, right? And he was like, "What? Why does that happen? Like, what? Why? Like, how do you deal with that?" I was like, "Dude, you gotta have grace because it's just a tool that they're pulling out of the box, and it's like that's the tool that works for them or has worked for them, and it's like I have to learn like it's no longer useful, right? Like when you meet somebody at like a cash register and they're just or in front of you, and they're just jerks, right? And you walk out, and you're like, dude." That's just a tool that you like. Anger is, and that's it's proven fact that folks are addicted to the dopamine dump of anger,
100%.
right? And they use that tool. Like this is the one that gets my way.
And they're quick results, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
People get out of the way.
It's easy.
Dance, monkey, dance. Like you making everybody else dance on your stage, right? No, but I wanted to address a couple things up like I left off. I mean, it's kind of hard with the 90 seconds or less thing to really delve into that, but I don't want to misrepresent what I meant. I said there are men and women in those 12 step groups that do not follow Jesus or profess to follow Jesus that are spiritual powerhouses. And what I wanted to say or what I wanted to get across is I think that Jesus doesn't need the accolades to get the work done. He wants to get the work done. And people unknowingly follow God because they wanted to open that 12-step book up for the whole world, right? We talked about this earlier. It was like Dr. Bob and Bill Wilson, founders. They picked one book out of the Bible and a couple other places. So like there's the 1 Corinthians chapter 13, which is like the love chapter, the Sermon on the Mount. But then the bulk of those steps came from James, the book of James, right? That's what the 12 steps are pulled out of. And so I think it is... I think that as a believer, as believers, we have to be open-minded. So I think that the founders of the 12 steps, and I think it wasn't really the founders, the people that got
kind of wrote the book.
Yeah, that wrote the book and tried to expand on it. Say, this is really, really valuable for the rest of the world.
Right.
If we will take religion out of it, and just keep the spiritual part of it, people will latch onto it. When really, they just took the principles of the kingdom, and it's doing the work.
So let me ask you a question. Why do you think, why do you think people are so afraid of God?
Afraid of God?
Yeah. Or why do you think people are so hesitant to be like, this is God, or like, I have my own theory, but I'm just curious.
So I hear your theory before I answer.
So I just think that it was very twisted against us. I think it was used over an entire generation to control us.
It being religion?
Yes.
Yeah.
And God, right? Like, I didn't learn the love of God. I learned to fear God. You know what I mean? And it's like, but so many places in the Bible as an adult, as I'm reading through this, it's like, God is love. God is love. God does not create a spirit of fear, but of peace, love, and a sound mind. Right? So it's like, I think there's an entire generation of people that are afraid to go back to that because at some point in their life, it was weaponized against them and used as a traumatic thing. You know what I mean? Or they were so afraid that's like, well, I'm never going to be good enough. Like, I'll never be that person.
Yeah.
So like, let's just get rid of it. You know, I really truly feel like it's just this pure ignorance to who Christ actually is.
Yeah.
You know, and to who God actually is and to what is actually being offered to you. You know, I just think that there is a true misconception.
Yeah. So before we started, recording, you talked about your experiences with church in the past, right? So I think there's the multitude of reasons. But one of them is massive, like church hurt, right? Just being wronged by someone in the church, right? Who represents the church. So that's an easy one to like. A lot of people feel that.
The thing that I think is so damaging about it is it's confusing, right? Like, religion in of itself is already confusing.
Yeah.
You know, and I just think that, like, I mean, it takes people a lifetime to understand what's really going on in the Bible. You know what I mean? And to break it down. So it's like, you get some person that just walks in and is receiving judgment.
Yeah.
You know, and is just like, oh, like, and then automatically identifying as this like sinful, broken person, right? Like, think about what's going on psychologically. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, yes, there are those elements in spirituality, in religion, like, but he's talking more to like the hard believer, right? Like, if this is really the path that you're going to choose, like, the fire and brimstone comes later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So that there's the judgment, right? And in the Bible, the enemy's labeled as the accuser, and that's like a legal term. He's the plaintiff. He's bringing this case like, this guy, there's rules that we said that you've got to follow on this earth, right, and they're like bound. Like, we can't change those. We step into them, right? And he says they broke those rules.
Who's they? Like, identify the
humanity.
Yeah.
Humanity has broken a rule of the perfection that is required, right, on this earth, right?
But it happened from day one.
From the get-go, right? And rightfully so. Like, we are accused by the enemy. And so the accusing starts, it could be internally by the enemy, the accuser, or a really immature body of believers or believer that, points blame, right? And the accusing is valid because we screw up. The hard part is we go to church and we think, okay, I've got to get fixed. I've got to get well, right? And that's not our job. Our job is to allow our Creator to make us well and come to Him saying, hey, I'm being accused constantly for the sins that I've created and done. And the Creator says, I sent someone to pay for those. And those are you're bought free, not from yesterday's sins, from tomorrow's.
Dude, which, think about that gift in reality. It goes against everything in human nature.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because we're humans.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. If you think about human nature as like this thing that you're looking down on, right? A sacrifice like that. It's why, people that do it on, like, people that go hand out money around the holidays and film it and put it on YouTube, they get tons of views, right? Because it speaks to something in their heart, right? Like, that's uncommon, right? And so it's like, I think it's hard for us as human beings to fathom that, right? To really, truly understand that.
It is, man. Like, there's a call to excellence and perfection in us that, like, we know we want and we can't attain. And usually the self-hatred is what we stick with. Like, I hate myself because I am not who I feel like I'm supposed to be.
Where we hyper-focus on the negative.
Right. Because we are eternal beings stepping into a human experience. Totally. Right. And so, like, we leave this perfection and we come into this mess, and life is messy, dude. Like, that's you talk about like what Aaron's doing right now. He's doing the step. People say, I completed 12 steps. Well, then, no, you didn't, because step 12 is to go do what Aaron's doing right now.
Right.
Like, that's what And you step into those places and you're like, dude, this is an absolute mess. And you leave. And like my mentor, when I came to him the first time, I remember him telling me he almost turned me away because he was like, dude, I did not know how to handle all your mess. Right. And I'm grateful he didn't. But now I meet men and women. I'm like, okay, God.
Yeah.
This one's on you always, dude, because I don't got, I can't hack this one. This guy's a mess. And I'm like, I was too. So let's,
See, and that's the thing, dude. That's where I think the grace comes from, right? Like we were a mess at one point, and that's where the understanding, like all that stuff comes from. Once you're able to give it to yourself, then it's so easy to offer it to other people.
Yeah. But you can't offer, you can't give what you don't have.
For sure, dude.
And that's where a lot of church hurt comes from.
And that's why I love like symbology. You know what I mean? Like, especially like I'm in the Jewish religion, like filling up the cup, overflowing into the bowl. Like there's so much symbology, spiritual symbology inside that, right? Like this has got to be filled up first, right?
Yeah.
I've got to be strong enough to go out and carry my wife, my children, right? And if I'm not, then, the proof is in the last 10 years of my life.
Yeah, somebody has to. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it's like, all right, well, we can look at what happens when you don't do it.
Right. I'm the example of what not to do.
Right.
But
anyways, like, dude, you and I, so listeners, just give us a little grace on this episode because Cash and I, when we get together, bro, we were just bouncing all over these spiritual ideas. But we'll try to keep it in like in a lane for you guys.
Dude, there was something I thought about today. We're coming to the end of the year. And at the end of the year, I like to start looking at goals for the next year. I'm a goal-driven guy, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not like a heavy practitioner of like looking at steps daily. Actually, I couldn't tell you last time other than the day that I looked at them. But I was writing my goals and I remember like, I have like, this is all the things I want to accomplish and have completed this year. And at the end of it, I was like, but God, I really, like more than anything, I want to know your will and the power to carry that out. And I meant it, which is a freaking miracle. Because the will of God used to terrify me. Because it means like I have to stop doing what I want to do. But he's built me into a person that's like, no, I found out that the things that he wants me to do are so much more fun.
Better. Dude, it's funny that you're going through that because I have a meeting this afternoon with my life coach. And this is all the stuff that we're going through right now, right?
Yeah.
Like identifying the one thing in you that's the most important.
Yeah.
And so it's weird because I had to go back and do all the work of the packet of things that I've gotten before I could really identify. I've had rewritten, but I feel like I finally figured out like what's most important to me in my life. And I wrote it down as seeing my family succeed in their passions while developing a personal relationship with God.
Yeah.
And everything that falls under that.
That's like the foundation.
Exactly, dude. That's the foundation of everything, right? Then everything that falls under that, and not only like my personal relationship, but seeing them develop one too, and showing them how it's done, right? In a correct way and things like that. So dude, I totally get where you're saying, what you're saying with that. That's funny because I literally wrote that down yesterday.
So I think that's really cool. Because like, I have enjoyed self-help books in the past, right? And I do here and there, but I got to be like where I would find an author and then look at his like, is this guy still married? How many marriages has this guy been through? Does his wife and kids still talk to him? Like you can sacrifice that and get everything else. And in my book, you've lost, you failed. But if you can carry that and then chase everything that you believe you're created to do on top of that, that's the key to
right.
success.
And so inside of that, right, it's like I'm taking care of my responsibilities as a man while dreaming and allowing God to really direct my steps. And it's like I've struggled with this lately because it's business planning season, right?
Yeah.
And everybody's like, are you going to business planning? I'm like, nah, dude. Like, I was like, I'm not necessarily a goal-driven person, which I'm like, this is what I'm working through right now. Like, I'm like, okay, let's do it. Let's set some goals and see like where that goes. Maybe to live with a little bit more intentionality. But like, dude, ever since we started this podcast, it's been just like, what do I feel in here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So goals are tough too, because like as soon as you start setting goals, that might not line up with God's wills, like, in itself. And that's where, like for me, because I've gone through some life changes and like had a kind of a rough summer. But because of that pain that I went through and and there was a good amount of suffering in that as well. I discovered stuff that I wouldn't have unlocked it the way that it was meant to be unlocked with the knowledge of myself.
Right.
Knowledge of self.
Right.
If it wouldn't have happened in that way.
The pain, the frustration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, and that's the thing, right? That's the battleground, right? Like that's the training. That's where the grind happens. That's where you fall in love with the process, right?
Like, get your edge, bro.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like you get sharpened and you level up, you know, and it's like when like that goes bad in your life. And then this is what I told my buddy the other day. I was like, dude, the more broken you are, the more powerful you can become.
And the faster too.
And I'm like, it's crazy, dude. Like it's this weird dichotomy in life. They're like, how do people get good at MMA? They go punch the shit out of each other for years.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, that's what they do.
That's it.
You go do the thing to get good at the thing, and you go through the pain, and you understand what it feels like. And the whole time is like, you can live with this grasp on faith, right? Of like, okay, I know the promises of God. I know what he has told me in his word. I know that I'm in this season, right? Identifying the season that we're in, and I accept God's will and plan in my life, and that this is the battleground. Dude, when you start to realize that you're in the battleground, this ignites your warrior spirit.
And you're not alone.
No.
And like you could be, I'm safe in the fire.
Totally, man. Like what?
Burning down.
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
I know that you're here, dude, and I don't know what's going on here, but I know I'm not here by accident.
For real.
Dude. And it always, but like that's the test, right? Am I going to start yanking levers?
Yes.
Like I'm going to control all this, and you start.
Dude, that's like the montage in the movie, you know, where he's like training and like getting all that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes, dude.
That's what I'm talking about. That montage in the movie should be 90% of the movie.
Yeah.
You know, it's like introduce the story for 10 seconds. Like then it's 90 minutes of like this dude just working out and grinding his ass off so that he can go like kung fu some and save his family.
My favorite movie in the whole world is Cinderella Man. I don't know if you.
Yeah, dude.
It's incredible.
So good.
Listeners, if you haven't seen it, it's a boxer who was on top of the world, and it's in the Depression, the Great Depression, and he loses all of it. And he ends up working on the docks in the Great Depression, and he strengthens his left, and he never had a good left. And he comes back and becomes world champion. And I felt like every time I watch a movie, I come to tears because like I feel like that's my story. I'm not world champion of anything, but I feel like in my family, in my home, dude, my kids look up to me. They want to be around me. My wife can't wait to see me. Like, you don't like, my wife trusts me. Right. That's big for me, dude. My wife trusts me.
What does that do inside of you here in your soul?
Well, it's the first thing. Like, that's the foundation. Yeah. When the foundation's solid, I believe I can chase the things that, you know, I meet pastors and pastors' kids, and they're like, I didn't know my dad. I told you my wife didn't want to marry a preacher because she was terrified of like me going after all of that and forfeiting my kids and my family, what I'm created. The biggest gift, and it's so watered down, but like the biggest gift we have is to be a father and to marry a woman and to chase, or you know, to chase excellence and lead them down the right path. You talked about like looking at what you're created to do, and I'm kind of pivoting here. I have a little pottery studio in my basement. In my pottery studio, I have a whiteboard that I've written when I was really struggling with direction, right? God's will. What's God's will? Which is like, that's a tough one, you know, because we make it so it's a lot more simpler than it is. And there's a hint in a breadcrumb trail, and on my board it's written. I wrote, you know, remember back when you were the happiest you've ever been. What were you doing? And those areas, like pure happiness, like joy that just bubbled inside of you. Like I saw it last week when we were talking about the gospel and sobriety. You like lit on fire. Yeah. You're like, I'm sorry. No, dude. Like the thing that's going on inside of you, the authenticity, like I got the chills. Usually when you're doing it or thinking about it or talking about it, you'll get the chills. That's
the presence of God.
That's how you know what you're chasing. Is like, man, what has he put in me that when I'm doing it, I come like I light on fire. For me, it's
a spiritual awakening.
Yeah, it's a gift that we get that God says, hey, this is a whisper of like, hey, this is what I want you to do because I've created you to love it. Watching you set these cameras up and talking about how this has got to be like, everything's got to be perfect. And he's like, dude, it is perfect. Like, no, not yet. I'm like, dude, there it is. Like,
you know what?
Chase hard.
Yeah.
Run hard.
You know what's crazy is my whole life, leadership has been spoken over me.
Right.
Right. And so it's like all through my childhood, all through my teen years, through my 20s, through my 30s, it's always been there. Right. It's always been this belief, but I never knew what the platform was.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just like, I never realized until a couple of years ago that I was in a 20-year battleground, right? To shape myself for who I am today, right? And so to the listener, it's like, you may feel like what you're trying to do has no value in the world, you know, but it's crazy how God just will open those doors, right? It's like, go through the grind, go through the thing, know that God has you, know that you're being held and that there's a purpose for the suffering, the pain, all of it, you know what I mean? And so now it's like looking back on my life for 20 years, I see that now, right? Like I see like, okay, that was my battleground.
And used. And also that when you are in a space where you feel really lost and disconnected and just like nothing matters, essentially.
Right.
Those are important times in your life, because guess what? If you felt like you were valued, connected, you know, whether it be externally or internally all the time, it would be normal. There wouldn't be yeah, exactly. It would be boring, because guess what? You're always already there.
Right.
And I think that's what I think like the human experience is. It is experiencing the ups and downs, because for me personally, the highest level, which is God, would be perfection.
Yeah.
And if you're always perfect, how would you know that you're perfect if you didn't have anything else
Tell you you're not.
to like judge anything else off of?
Yeah, it gives you a standard.
But like, can I share? I shared last week a pretty like heavy spiritual moment I had in rehab. There's another one I wanted to share, or I'd like to share now.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Please.
So 4 or 5 years ago, my wife and I were walking. We did this thing where we would walk every day for like 45 minutes. We were doing, dude, I'm going to become we were doing 75 hard.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say
Good, I know. I almost did
Everybody
does this. Like, I just said
Anybody in their 30s that goes on an afternoon walk, like,
yeah,
they're in 75 hard.
So we were doing it, man. We were on a walk, and we were both. And in marriage, like most people identify this, like usually it's one person in a healthy marriage it's strong, and one the other person's weak, right? Like in any area, it's like if I'm not doing well, I go to my wife. Oh yeah, I'm cool. We'll work on this together. So usually you always have one to lift the other. But we were walking and like we were anxious about everything. We were just anxiety was just like chomping at us, dude. And I was like, this isn't right. It's not supposed to look like this. You know, something's going on here. And we were scared. I was terrified. And I went to bed that night, and I was reading the book of Daniel, where Daniel had talked to us. It's chapter 9 and 10. Gabriel comes to Daniel. And it's talking to him, right? And I'm not Catholic, so I'm not real versed on praying to anybody else but Jesus, right? Or the Holy Spirit, right? But I thought, Daniel talked to Gabriel, and he's the prince of heaven's armies, right? And so I'm like laying in bed that night. I'm like, Gabriel, if you're in on this thing and you're doing this, like it really was kind of like
looking around the room, like
I really was. I really like look at the lights are off. And I'm like, if you can hear me, Gabriel, you know, I could use some fighting right now because we still have it and we're struggling with fear. And I go to bed and I get into this a lot of times when I do get them. I get them pretty often, or I guess more often than one would expect, where or in between asleep and awake, there's that, you know, where like the sleep paralysis happens.
Totally,
in an area.
Yeah, I've been there. This shit's weird.
Right in between, that's where I don't know how to describe it, and I'm sure there's books on it, but that's where those experiences happen to me. And this moment, I'm there, and I felt the paralysis part, and I start to freak out, dude. I'm like, you know how you're like, you ever had sleep paralysis, dude? It's like,
I've had it once.
Yeah, once.
It's terrifying.
I was younger when it happened. Yeah.
It's terrifying.
So there was a spiritual mentor at the time that I'd been meeting with, and he used to say every day, just let it happen. Let it happen. Just dude, you don't have to throw the levers, let it happen. And so I just heard I thought those words, like, let it happen. So I just stopped and I was real still. And then I saw like 3 tiny pin lights, like stars. And they got real, like closer. And then one of them, I was like sucked right in, dude. It was the craziest thing. and I start to wake up, and I'm coming awake like in the most rested state I've ever experienced in humanity. I'd never experienced anything like this where I'm like, I just took a 1,000-year nap and I'm awake, dude. I'm like, oh my God, this is so nice. And then I hear sound, which is crisper and clear. It's so clear. And it sounds like, I don't know if you've like seen a SEAL Team 6 movie where like they're communicating like building to building, where the threat is, where they are, what's going on, like through the radios, you know? And I hear that like, you know, special forces guys talking, and I open my eyes and I'm in my bed. And that night, all 3 of my boys had crawled in bed with me, and I'm in my same bed. My wife is there, 3 kids are there, but I immediately noticed like 15 special force, like head to toe, arm to teeth, headgear, like sidearm. These dudes were ready to roll. They were in war, dude. And they were all around my bed and facing outward and communicating the threat. And all of a sudden there was this overwhelming sense like, oh dude, I've always been safe. Like, and so, and then like the colors are, I'm not in like some field of beautiful colors. The room was like this beautiful state-of-the-art looking, almost like a facility, but it was like stainless steel walls. It was so like future feeling. And I asked one of the guys, I noticed something in like the middle of the room at the foot of the bed, this big statue thing or sculpture. And I asked one of the guys, I said, hey, can I get up and walk around? And he kind of laughed and was like, yeah, this is your house. This is your room. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I walked over to the statue, and it's this black, abstract, massive piece of artwork. And it's just black. And I get like real close to it, and it's all over. It's built from all these little messy pieces that have been pieced together. And each one written in gold is something that like horrific that I had done, like an affair, a massive relapse of what I'd done, like just the worst things that I could bring to thought. When you talk about the step 4 things, the things that I've wronged, the things I had to make amends for, hardcore, like those were the activities that built this statue. And I realized, it's like, oh my gosh, all that pain, all that suffering, all the dumb things I did is creating and was creating this beautiful sculpture. And my youngest son kind of like toddles out of the bed, walks over and starts to tear it. And I realized it's paper. It's made of paper. And he starts tearing it up. And I was like, no. Like I'm like trying to shoo him away. And I hear this woman's voice saying, it's okay. And I look up, and there's a book. You ever heard of the book, The Shack?
Yeah, dude, the movie, yeah.
It's so good. There's a lady named Sobriety. She had the Holy Spirit. She was an Asian lady, and this lady was an Asian lady that, like, it reminded me. I thought that's who this was. And she said, it's okay. It doesn't matter. Not if it matters. It's not a big deal. Let him tear it up. It cares. I was like, really? She said, yeah. It's okay. Everything that you've done, like, it's not a big deal, man. We're doing something. And I see the room to the door, and I see there's other people that I recognize. I don't know who they are now, but I know them, you know, and there's a whole other house. And I said, hey, can I check the rest of this place out? And she's like, yes, this is your house. But just know, we're only supposed to show you this place, this room. You can go, but your memory will be taken. I was like, dude, no, like, yeah, dude. And I just I was like, you know, be like, thanks, you know. And I'm telling you, as soon as I walked through the door, you know, what's weird is like, I know, like, I have a memory of walking through the house. I have no idea what's in that memory. It's like, I know it's there. It's the weirdest thing. Yeah. But I woke up with such a peace, and I've always remembered that, because I don't think that was, let me say this, that wasn't symbolic. Like, what I experienced was realer than what we're experiencing now. It was more real, and it really exists somewhere. Yeah. So anyways,
and dude, I actually honestly, my spiritual awakening around this podcast was very similar. You know, I mean, I don't remember my dreams a lot, you know, and it was just this insanely vivid dream where my buddy who had committed and I were talking. And he literally was like, dude, you should start a podcast. And it just gave me the whole outline for it. And then I wake up, it's like 3:30 in the morning, and I have such a clear memory of everything that he told me and was able to put it all on paper. You know, like that's never happened to me in my life. So, and I used to sleep with a pad of paper next to my bed, you know. So it's just like nothing that clear, nothing that vivid ever, you know. And so I don't, and I've heard many stories. Like I have a couple of weird stories in my life that I believe were spiritual, you know, where I had one, I was almost drowning. I was trying to swim across a lake.
Yeah.
And I was like 14 and my brother's over here. I'm like in the middle of the lake screaming for help. And all of a sudden this dude like shows up on the shore out of nowhere. Like I didn't see him, you know, but in reality, like there's public lakes over there. Like somebody could have easily just walked over, heard me screaming, you know, but it just didn't feel that way to me. Right. And then I like get up to thank him and he's just gone. Like we couldn't find him anywhere.
He got you out of the lake is what you're saying?
No, I actually made it on my own, but he was there, you know, like and it was this old man. Like I can see him as clear as day. You know?
Did you know him in the dream? Like, did you know?
I wasn't dreaming, dude. I was drowning.
Oh, this is real.
This actually happened.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I was like drowning in a lake, dude. Like I was swimming across this lake. It was probably 100 yards. I was 14 years old and I told my brother I could do it. And he's standing on the other side of the shore and I'm like getting tired of dude. Like,
and this guy's just watching you.
And so I'm swimming, right? Yeah. So I'm in this place of like, I'm in this place of survival. Like I'm like, I'm in trouble.
We're dying, dudes.
Right? Like I'm going under the water, but I'm still going, right? Like I know if I stop, I'm fucked. And all of a sudden, like I'm screaming for help, and then I just see this guy, like I just see this guy like up on the shore, and he's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like getting to the shore, and it's kind of got this weird shelf to it, so I'm getting my feet under me, and I'm exhausted, and I kind of sit down, and I turn around to tell him thank you, and he's coming. And I like climb, and he's probably 3 or 4 feet above me because of the way the lake was structured. So I jump up the shore and I like went to try to find him. I couldn't find him anywhere. You know, and so it was weird, right? Like we just couldn't find him. Like it was very possible that it was some old guy that was fishing and just disappeared into the trees. But it just didn't feel that way to me, you know? Like felt to me like it was a guardian angel. Because I was like in the middle of the lake and I'm just like tired and swimming, and then all of a sudden I have dirt under my feet.
Do you believe guardian angels?
100%.
Dude.
Absolutely.
There's no...
Dude, you can't... I don't know. You can't... I've just had too many things happen inside of my heart, right? Inside of like kind of like, you're like, what? You know, like that doesn't make sense. Like, how did all of a sudden I get $1,000 bonus from a new construction company for closing a deal when I literally needed $1,000 to accomplish this thing?
Yeah.
You know, it's not... Those aren't coincidences.
No.
You know, and I'll go even farther, dude. Like, we are faithful creatures. And I don't know, I bet 99.9% of people are listening to this would agree. But, like, have you ever had the moment where, like, I'm thinking about you, and then you call me? What's that?
Dude, you
know what I'm saying? Like, what is that, right? And so my theory, dude, is that it's this fourth dimension spiritual stuff that goes on in our brains that connects us in our souls that we can't see, but we can feel, right? And it's something that we have to be mentally connected to, right? Like we have to open up that part of our brain, right? So if you're closed off to the idea of God and Christ, like you're not opening.
That's what the connection is.
Exactly. You're not opening that connection in your mind to your heart, to your soul, right? So you're blocking off that energy, spirituality, whatever the fuck you want to call it.
So, dude, we talked about this last time, and we didn't go in, right? I said that connection that we have is, I said, realer and weightier than what we experience now. I do believe that we are created in his likeness and his image, but we are a part of him. Like the purest part of him is God.
Like, dude, it says in the Bible that we are capable of doing the same things that Christ did on this earth.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like
the hard part is like when you hear,
but we have to be in the right state to receive that kind of power. Honestly,
so when there's a lot more things that I believe that are. Oh man, I could go down a rabbit hole. I do believe you should listen to the podcast. I'm going to plug somebody else's podcast.
Yeah, do it, please.
Telepathy tapes, insane. You got
Telepathy tapes, yeah.
The second thing, a book called Angels in My Hair by Lorna Byrne, of talking about guardian angels. A lady who could see guardian angels as a kid. Everybody thought she was mentally because she couldn't talk, but she was talking to angels as a kid. Right? The angels told her not to talk about it until she was 30 because they would lock her up. Okay, two things I wanted. But the connection that we have, I do believe 100% that we are all connected. Like we are all. And you talk to a spiritualist who says, well, I'm not going to follow Jesus because I am Jesus. I have the Christ consciousness. And real quick.
Yeah.
When's the last time you walked on water?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I agree. I agree that like there is a foundational part of our creation that is the same that made Jesus great, but like we are seeds and he's a redwood, right? And he is the creator,
right?
But we are a part of, like, if you take a bucket of water out of the ocean, right? It doesn't cease to be the ocean. Do you understand what I'm saying? We are the bucket of water, but the ocean is.
And that's the whole point of Christianity, right? If you look at the message that Jesus gave his disciples at the end was to go out and to preach and to offer this gift, right? To leave, right? So you're taking that bucket of water, that ocean, and you're going into places that it's not supposed to be, right? And that's where the faith piece comes in, right? It's like, I'm not supposed to be here because I'm supposed to be in the ocean with all my other ocean friends.
But I'm here learning.
But I'm here learning about this environment, how I can play, and then how I can share the gift that I was given.
You get poured out and you return.
Dude, that's all we're trying to do right now, right? As people. And this is something I even wrote down in my like life stuff, is to heal the hearts and minds of our generation. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because it's like, I feel like that's where it really starts, dude, is like, there's so many people that I run into that were just given a bad deck, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, so many people that just don't know, right?
What determines if it's bad, though?
The deck?
Yeah, because...
I mean, I think that's pretty addiction.
Hold on. I want to keep going.
What determines... Because that's a human concept, good or bad.
Bad,
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Wait.
I don't think that's a good... I don't think so at all.
Hold on.
All right, we'll let you play this
real quick, because like this
Sorry,
is
no,
semantics, right?
Let our ADHD
I want to hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, in the big book it says we came to a point, and this isn't quote, but we came to a point where we had to ask ourselves a question: either God is everything or God is nothing. And if God is everything, that includes the good and the bad. So, personally, I've found that, I mean, going back earlier in this conversation, where, you know, you're in the mud, things aren't going how you want it to, you feel disconnected, you're depressed, you know, thinking about ending your life. But the things that come after that, that friction is what causes growth.
If you allow it.
Yes. So what determines if something is good or bad? Because I personally believe that good or bad, that's our human mind. That's our mind part of our body. The thing that talks to you, that's the thing trying to take control.
Trying to place a judgment on a situation.
Right. So that it can, which it does a good job. That the mind was
created to do that.
Evolutionarily created to keep us alive. Right? Like tiger, no tiger. Right?
Yeah.
But now in our modern world, it does its job when it doesn't need to. Now, 99.99% of the time, we're not in danger, but we create the danger because we label things as good or bad.
I know what you're talking about, dude, because it is a really, I don't think that you're talking about, like there's, I believe, just like to the semantics, right? Like what is good, what is bad? Like what you're saying is how do we label or know if a situation is for us or against us, right? Or where we put, we have this thing, this tag that says this is good, right? And we have lots of them. And we have situations that come up and we're like, this is good, this is good, this is bad, and that, and we don't address those things. When actually, if we address that, if that's really good for us, we just don't know. We just have to have faith in the situation.
Well, you're also mitigating an entire part of this, which is experience. You know what I mean? And like your life experiences are also going to program part of that.
Right.
So I don't know.
What are those ordained?
No, and that's the thing. It's like we're all spiritual beings, right? And I feel like if we're truly connected to what we should be connected to, like you're gonna in your soul know the difference between what's right and what's wrong.
Yes and no. I mean, no. I do believe like the law is written on our heart. Like this is the right thing and the wrong thing. And I do think it's different for some people. Like I don't think for me, I can play a hand of Texas Hold'em and I can walk away and never want to do that again because it doesn't bother me. But I know that I can't pick up marijuana because it ruins me, dude.
And that's what I'm talking about. The personal experience, like that changes, right? Like I don't think there's one. And I think, dude, that's the kind of the problem with humanity is we're trying to generalize 8.5 billion people. You can't do that.
Right, but going back to the simplicity of it all, like there's two words, follow me. We're called to follow him, right? So like he might lead you to something that feels like a dumpster fire. Mm-hmm. And like absolutely, like my world is, and that's like a tale as old as time. Like my whole world was burning down, like I just waited another week and it all turned out for my good. Right? Like, so this situation was good. That was good for you. It was good that your house burned down.
Yeah.
But who's to say? Not me, dude. I don't got the answer, bro, but I know who does, and that's who I'm going to keep following. And in the middle of that fire burning down, I'm like, okay, you still got this, right? Not saying I just faith out, like we talked about Braveheart, or what was it? A movie I recently watched.
Cinderella Man?
I don't know what it was. Oh, I'm watching the story of David. It's called it's not a movie. It's the story of David. I think it's on Amazon or something. But it's a really, really, really good rendition of David and Goliath and all that with a lot of creative liberty in it. But he's walking on the battlefield to fight Goliath. Everyone says, all his brothers are like, aren't you scared? Aren't you scared? You should be afraid. Don't do this. You know. And he looks at him and is like, I am afraid. I'm terrified. And he walks. You know what I'm saying? So like it doesn't, it's still terrifying to be in the bad and the world burning down, but trusting like, okay, I am not alone. I am not alone and I don't have control. It's the trouble we get in is when we start trying to take control and make moves behind the scenes and steal $1,000 to make rent and then I'll pay it back later, whatever, dude. Like, so I don't mean to, but I love the question, what is good and what is bad and who labels it good and bad. I think there's some pretty basic, you said it, love God, love people, right? Like that's pretty do no harm, pretty black and white, but there are like, there's like a basic morality that we're given, but then there's an innate like law written on our heart that says, this is not good for me. This thing is not good for me, but everybody else is doing it. It's okay but for me, I have friends that'll ask me, hey man, I'm doing this. And what do you think? I don't know. I don't know if this is the right thing. And I'm like, I'll be straight. I say this often. I'm not going to be on the throne when you get there. I know who is. And if he's talking to you, pay close attention.
And I think that's the answer, right? Like it starts with educating. Like again, this just goes back to like our generation, dude, having this insanely skewed concept of who Christ is.
Yeah. What do you mean by education?
I just think that as kids, we were indoctrinated the wrong way. We were educated about God and spirituality and religion the wrong way, dude. Like, and I feel like there's a lot more people that could err on the side of like, yeah, this was kind of like weaponized against me versus the ones that were like, oh no, like I totally got the whole message of Christ from the beginning. I never really experienced that in church ever, dude. Like, and it's hard, right? Like, and this is what I was talking to the pastor at Timberline about, like, it's hard. Like you go there as a person expecting things to be perfect, right? Like, but it's not, it's human. Like anything that has a human hand in it is going to be messed up, and so it's like finding that grace and things like that. But I don't know, dude, it's just, I keep going back. Like I've had so many conversations and one of my favorite questions to ask people is like, hey, you're not a spiritual person. Like, that's great. I'm not trying to force my belief system down your throat. I just have one question. And I'm genuinely curious about this. because I know how I deal with it. But when you have an insurmountable amount of fear in your life, how do you deal with it? If you're an atheist, if you don't believe in God, if you say you're claiming you're not this spiritual person, how are you dealing with these emotions that are so deep in you that they're confusing?
Yeah.
And almost every single time it comes back to something spiritual.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
without being prompted.
Yeah, in the big book, I think it's like one of my favorite lines. I love pulling it out immediately because people forget about it. I think it's like page 47. I'm pretty sure it's in the 40s.
Don't get me lying to you, brother.
We believe you.
It says essentially that it's in We Agnostics towards the end of it, and it talks about how, for did we not have faith in our own decision making? Did we not have faith in intellectual prowess, essentially? So we see at the end of the day, faith was involved all along.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I did not grow up like in a religious household. Both of my parents did. And with the attitude that they had with me was, well, if he wanted to go into it, he will. And my whole dive into spirituality was actually through, like, wouldn't call it addiction, but more psychedelic side of it.
Sure.
Which I've met some people that are all about that. Like,
yeah, no,
a great life, and dude, they've had these spiritual awakenings.
Yeah, I mean, but like what you said, the vision or dream that you had, what it goes back, it goes even deeper into the question of what is reality, what is real, when really our senses, our brain only monitor actively right now this much, when there's really so much more there that we can't even perceive.
This is what our generation is going to be known for.
It's happening. When I told you about the selective text, it's one of the things that it's happening. The realization it's more than just a heaven or hell conversation. It is as important as that, but there's a lot more going on than. I went to a really deep dive because I got really angry. I was like, God, what? Because I also dealt with psychedelics and aside from psychedelics, with the psychosis, you cannot convince me that the things that I was experiencing were just a chemical imbalance. It just is not real. I was having access and being tormented by another realm, another situation. And I got pretty angry at God, and I was like, I'm tired. I don't want another sermon. I don't want more doctrine. I want some facts. I want some really facts.
And that is the truth.
I was angry on my knees. I was like, I don't want, and I was led to just things fell in my lap, some specific books that were amazing. Like one was The Great Divorce by C.S. Lewis, and he talks about, it's a narrative about about heaven and hell, right? I believe there's a couple, I almost don't want to,
if you're talking spiritual warfare, the Screw Tape Letters by C.S. Lewis is written.
That's another one. It's insane. It's very, very.
It's written from the perspective of Satan and a demon. It's really good.
There's a lot of, but I was a specific set of books, and I have come to believe that I think some Christians would probably call it heresy, but there's been pieced together a lot of truths to a lot of people, right? That I believe the ultimate and most important is to know our Creator and who that guy is, and what he did when he came. But there's a lot more to it. And I dug and I felt like I got some really amazing truth that when piecing these things together, it made a lot of sense. And then I went back to the Lord in prayer, and I was like, this is insane. And I remember thinking, or being asked, like, do you feel like any of it was necessary to know? Like, do you feel like having been open and aware of this knowledge that you've been given, do you think that it really is like important to the big picture? The answer was no. It was a lot more simple. It was simple. It was, I have a Creator. He loves me. He knows what I'm going through, and he wants me to be who he's created to be, and wants me to return to him.
Dude, the crazy thing is too, with all of this, if you try to put it into your human brain, it'll never make sense.
Well, we're not.
And we don't understand. We just simply can't. I can't even really explain to you in words what it feels like or the experience of having a spiritual awakening. Like, I can never explain that to you, right? Because the best thing I can do to say was I was plugged in.
It's like asking ChatGPT, like, what's that smell right now? What am I smelling?
Yeah. It's the same. It's, dude, that's a great analogy.
Does it work?
And it's just, it's hard, right? Like, and where does that, like, this is another question I was asking recently in a AA Bible group. Like, tell me about your guys' spiritual awakenings. Like, what was it? Just try to verbalize.
Or they, like,
right. Like, whatever that and it's every single time, dude, it's like this story of like, it just doesn't compute with the brain, period. You know, and those things happen all the time. They're not coincidences, you know, and it's like, and we can point to it. They're factual things that have happened, you know, and it's like, why not? You know, like, and this is my perspective, and maybe it's just because I'm so black and white, but like, if your life is so up and you're miserable, why not try something else?
Right. Yeah.
Why not
this
try?
sucks. Let's try another card.
Just give the shot.
Yeah. Right.
Open up your heart. Be vulnerable.
Sometimes it takes that, though.
You know, and it's like, you may not even land on God, but like, why do you, like, Native Americans were able to survive off of the earth for thousands of years before we got here.
Yeah.
You know, before Western civilization took over, like, there is a connection between the earth that was created for us to enjoy, the animals that live on that earth,
Yeah.
us, and God. It's all, and dude, if you look into like Buddhism and chanting and all of that stuff, it's awesome because all it does is align you with that energy, right? With that spirituality. And it's the same thing, dude. Like, spirituality and energy, it's the same thing. When I'm spiritually jacked up and know that I'm on the right path, I am so energized that it's unbelievable.
You're unstoppable. I'm gonna pull up something out.
And so there's a huge connection between there that I think us as humans try to sever, right? Because it's like, no, I'm not going to call it God because at one point in my life, this person slapped me with a Bible. So instead, I'm going to call it this. It helps me re-identify it with my human brain, but you're still connected to the same principle.
Dude, so the Old Testament worship is kind of outlandish, right? There's a lot of it like, dude, this is crazy. This is nuts. But it says in the New Testament, it says in Jude, which is a crazy, small, tiny book.
Yeah. Forgot that was in the Bible.
Jude specifically says, and it's wild. It was almost thrown out by Martin Luther when he threw out a bunch of books. But it says that Jesus led the Israelites out of captivity, right? That's, 4,000, 3,000, I don't know. It's thousands of years before.
Yeah,
they didn't know the name of Jesus. All they had was I am. But Jude specifically says Jesus led the Israelites out, right, before they ever knew. And I think who's to say that Jesus didn't show up
at that point in time
to other generations? They just didn't know his name, yep. Right? And it's like, this is a religious doctrine, like, mess. But who's to say that there wasn't a guy on the Great Plains that Jesus didn't show up to that guy?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They just
totally
call him.
Well, you said something else too that I think people struggle with inside of Christianity is that books were thrown out. Martin Luther threw books out when he translated the Bible, right?
But you got to go back to what he said: either God is everything or God is nothing.
Right. And that's really, that. Dude. This is like, honestly, go back and do some research. Just do some research on Christianity, and it's crazy, dude. Look at the prophecies that are in the New Testament or the Old Testament and how they come to fruition in the New. Like, it's wild. And tell me, and just do this, listener. Like, just go in there. Read the New Testament with an open heart, and if you don't feel something in your soul at some point in time, like, give it a good 30 days. Dude, and if you don't feel like that's you opening the door and being like, hey, you know what? I'm curious. That's all he needs, right? Is just to open the door. And if you don't feel anything, then go away. Like, whatever.
I would, listener, going back to like the challenge there, I would challenge, give 15 seconds to get on your knees and just ask, show me the information that you have for me that's relative and pointing it to my journey on this life, and pay attention to what shows up. And I guarantee you there will be scripture involved. It'll show up, or someone will toss you a big book.
Well, how many? I mean, dude, how many big books have been printed? How many people have gone through this program? Right? Like this is why sobriety is a superpower.
Yeah.
I'm reading a book right now. It's total fiction, but it's all unconsciousness, right? And it's
what is it?
Dan Brown. It's
the name of the book.
Secret of Secrets. So he wrote Da Vinci Code, Angels and Demons. Like but I think he's a self-proclaimed atheist, but he always puts science and religion and history in his books, and then he tells a great fiction story. So the character Robert Langdon is the main character in that series of books. Like he's a Harvard symbologist, right? So he's like super versed on symbology, which is amazing, dude. Like it's so cool. So if you were to guess, and this is in his new book, the science and the religion is usually pretty accurate. So if you were to guess, like, what is the most religious symbol in the world?
Jesus. I mean, the cross.
No, dude. That's what everybody would say. It's actually a halo.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, and
who says that? What?
Well, I don't. I'd have to go back and source all of this. I'm literally getting it.
So I'm just calling out.
No, like I will. Like if you want to go back and source it, we can.
You're.
But and the idea behind it is the halo represents enlightened.
Okay.
Right. Like, and it depicts that person. You see it over the 12 disciples. You see it over Muhammad. You see it over Buddha. It's on the Statue of Liberty. You know, it's this sign of higher enlightenment. Right. And it's this connection to 1, 2, 3, the fourth dimension, dude, which is spiritual. Yeah. Right. Like the quantum computer, all that stuff, like that's tapping into it. Right. So it's a symbol that represents higher enlightenment, higher consciousness, higher amount of consciousness. Right. That connects you to what's upstairs. Right. So it's and I kind of forgot where I was going with this, but that's like, if you boil that back to where we are right now, like that's what you're asking for by sitting down for this 15 seconds, right? It's just like, I want to know more. I want the truth, right? And this is why like Charlie Kirk's situation spiritually is starting to make so much sense in the world.
It is awakening. It's
not like, I feel like and this is why I feel like when people go through sobriety, it's all over the book, dude. I mean, step one is to submit this to a higher power, right? So it's like you're inviting spirituality into your life.
Dude, you know, I told you I looked at this 12 steps today for the first time, like a long time. You know what's not in the 12 steps? What words are not 12 steps? It's stop drinking. It never once says. I never noticed that before.
I mean, how many times does an addict send that to themselves?
But it doesn't ever say stop drinking. But number one goal is to have a spiritual awakening.
Surrender.
Yeah, really. But you don't get that you don't get an awakening without.
Bro, that's exactly why the 6 pillars of our podcast are in the order that they're in.
So, there's a massive, this 11th step, I quote the 11th step in goal making, what did I say? That to, Williams, I quoted earlier, but
there's a bunch of spiritual people inside of AA that aren't actually following Christ.
Right, but I think there's a lot of people, when they actually have that true spiritual awakening, don't realize that is exactly who they're following.
Yeah.
There's, Lewis and Clark, the guys who...
I'm actually related to Clark.
Really?
I think so. It's my family's, one of my mom's side, it's one of our last names.
So I guarantee you, went back to their experience, a lot of people were like, you guys are there's bears out there and you will die. They're a big bear. I don't know if you've seen it. They're massive. They will eat you. Right? There are lions there are animals that will climb up a tree and wait for you to walk by. They're going to kill you. And they're like, yeah, but somebody's got to do it. And I think that our generation is one where we have to be willing to bridge some gaps and go west and say, I'll do it. It is dangerous. When you talk about spirituality the way that you're talking about it, where you bring in all these other religion, all these other things, there's a lot of pitfalls and a lot of traps. And it's in our religion as Christians as well. It's the spiritual realm is a dangerous realm.
Yeah.
It's super dangerous. And you get caught up so quick, like, well, the fastest way is psychedelics. And dude, you get caught up quick.
That's why that kind of stuff, I think it's I met with a guy this week, that went on a crazy trip, to have a spiritual awakening.
Where? Like ayahuasca?
Yeah, it was like ayahuasca and MDMA and mushrooms. It was over the course of like 3 days.
That's terrifying.
I mean, for me, and I'm like, but at the same time, the guy is just like, he was a Marine. He fell off a cliff, broke his back. Like, all this crazy stuff happened and it worked for him. Like, he's in this place of like surrender, and like he sees something bigger than himself, right? Like, that's the point of all of this, of sobriety, is to, okay, I'm just going to say this in my spiritual terms and try to translate it into something else, but like, God takes us from a place of addiction. I learned this through the church. From a place of addiction to a place of freedom.
Yeah.
Right? For a purpose. It doesn't stop here. That's the point, right? Like, you have the spiritual awakening to find freedom, to share that freedom with other people. There should be thousands of different avenues that this happens, right? But what we do as society is we go out and you say, oh, that guy's not doing it exactly how I am. You.
And you hang that little bad tag.
Right, exactly. Just like, or I'm bringing my trauma from Christianity, and I don't want to call it Christianity because that hurt me, so I'm going to call it this. But it's the same principle, dude. It's the same thing of trying to connect ourselves to this earth, to something spiritual for a greater purpose.
I'm going to read the 7-11 Matt, so I keep picking up on, might ignore you. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. So you mentioned some like chemicals, right, to take that you can chase that. Like, and I don't know if you guys heard of Ibogaine, if you listened to it or do some research. Ibogaine is probably one of the, I think, the coolest gifts to the modern day sufferer of any addiction. It's insane, right? And it's a psychedelic.
What's it called?
Ibogaine.
Okay. It's a Native American. It's a cactus, isn't it?
I don't know. I really don't know enough. I just know of the hope that people of I think Marcus Luttrell is his name.
Yeah, the lone survivor guy.
Yeah, he was just sitting in front of like a Senate hearing trying to get it legal in America for people to do. I think that's amazing. Like,
I do too.
If my kids were going through what I had to go through, and I could say, hey man, here's $10,000 where you can go literally just run through the 12 steps to get your 12.
It's like lighting the 12 steps on fire, dude, and just lighting it with rockets.
I'm not against that.
Me neither.
But I definitely am not a fan of the idea. Like, I remember, I wanted to do the whole, ayahuasca experience because I was struggling. And I remember my higher power was very clear, like, this was not for you.
No, dude, and that's the thing. Like, I know it. And this goes back to the conversation of what's good and bad.
Right.
Right? You can't, exactly, dude. I can't answer that. And one person, the president of the United States, whoever the powers may be, they can't answer that for 8.5 billion people, right? And that's the problem, is we're trying to generalize, and everybody in our culture wants their own individuality.
So, dude, but there's a key to that. I am, what the 12 steps offers is community. What the church offers is community.
Right.
We're not supposed to be making these decisions alone.
100%.
I have a group of 5 men on Monday mornings that in One World that we get on a phone call and we get a video chat and we pray for 15 minutes. I got a group of men that I meet with. It's like 70 people on Tuesday morning, 5 a.m. We pray corporately. I got another group at Wisdom. I'm not trying to say like I'm
like, look at me, I'm so awesome.
No, what I'm telling you is this shit works.
Yeah.
Like I go to those men, and when I'm struggling, when you ask a question, and I have to ask, when you ask the question, what do you do when you have insurmountable fear, which every human being is not just experiencing, but is going to continue to experience for the rest of their lives, right? It gets less and less as we learn to deal. But I have a guy that I call every time. When I want to go look at porn, and I'm like, oh man, I can see why I'm having a hard time scrolling fast. I got a guy that I call. I have somebody that I bring in. So like, there is a process to this. It's not just more information.
Right.
There's a community. Like listener, if you're not, and I keep looking like I'm talking to the listener here, dude.
Look at the camera.
Yeah. Is that who's? Oh, right.
You're there.
Hey. Get a group of people.
Yeah.
Whose life, whose fruit of their life that you would happily accept as your own.
Totally, dude. That's why we're creating Beyond the Buzz, right? Because we take that one step farther, where it's like, no, let's just hang out.
Yeah.
Let those relationships form naturally, right? Because God is going to bring, the universe is going to bring whatever you need into your life if you're open to it and you're asking for it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like, Dude, this is crazy. Like, we probably need to start wrapping this up too, but
Yeah, I feel like we've been going, dude.
yeah, and this is why I love talking to you, bro, because like I could be here all day.
Right.
You know, we can shut this up and make 18 episodes out of it. But I forgot what I was going to say. I mean, it's not obviously not super important.
Okay, I guess I might want to say real quick, and this is, you can cut this out. All right. Just want to open this up to the listener. If a listener hears this, has a question on anything that we're talking about, or concern or frustration or a massive disagreement, something they'd like to address, is there a place that they can email a question?
Yeah.
What's that email address?
It's shattereddarkness5, the number 5, at gmail.com.
Shattereddarkness, the number 5, at gmail.com. Yep. Anything, we talked about a lot of crazy things today, and a lot of toes, I guarantee, are stepped on. Which I honestly, dude, like, I'm kind of okay with that. I'm not on this.
No,
I'm not disrespecting.
Yeah, I'm not disrespecting anybody's path, anybody's journey, any choices that you've made. Like, what we're trying to do is create a space where we can have honest conversations about the differences that goes on in our mind. Like, you know, we had a trans person on here, Han, and very wildly different experiences,
sure,
in life, and very wildly different people today. But at the same time, dude, we share so many similarities, you know, and things that we can support each other in and learn from. I don't have to agree with every decision that you've made to pour my love into you and to pour God's love into you.
And it's not my job. It's not coming on, it's not coming on me to tell you that. Right. Unless we're in a group and I have a platform that you give me, say, hey, you speak into me. What do you suggest? I cut you off. And I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. Because I like that, dude. This is, I have the ADHD brain, right? Like, I forgot my idea. Like, that's why I just hammer down on things so fast. But like, it's that concept, dude, of like, I don't like, and I think that we've really struggled with it. It's very easy when things get heated to just pull back to where we're comfortable, right? And that's kind of happening societally, right? Where it's like, okay, all these people, if I go put myself out there too much, it actually could be dangerous, you know? And that to me is fucking crazy. If you want to understand something, or if you want to change something, understand it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the first step. And so that's what we're trying to create, is like, dude, I don't care who you are. I don't care how many years you've spent in prison. I don't give a shit about any of that stuff. What I care about is what's going on right now in here. What is going on in here? Is it good or is it bad? Right? And then at that point, I have the choice of whether or not to accept that into my life.
Yeah.
Right? So nobody can define, I think, what's good and bad for you. You have to define that through what you believe in and what you're feeling and your experiences. And
I think your creator defines that for you.
100%.
You got to be willing to accept his definition.
And dude, I'm not saying go out and be a Bible thumper. The last thing I want to do is slap somebody upside the head with the Bible. Yeah. Right? Like, that happened to me my entire life, and it made no sense. It's so much hypocrisy, dude. Like, it just twisted the idea of this personal relationship with Christ. That's the underlying nuts and bolts of the entire Christian faith, is to have a personal relationship like me and you have with God. And I swear on my life that if you press into it, you will feel it. And you will start to find that. And dude, label it whatever you want. I don't care. You know, because again, I think over the thousands of years that we've existed as people, we've just been like, I'm going to tweet that. I'm going to tweet that. I don't like that.
I read the Bible.
You want the truth? Open your heart.
My favorite thing to do every day is to open scripture. And I read it and I hear the sermons that were taught on certain things. I'm like, that's not it at all.
Right.
That's not it. You know, there's a guy named Leo Skeppy who's super famous on TikTok right now, right? For not any of the reasons that we're talking about. That guy picked up a Bible a couple weeks ago and is just like, dude, I'm just going to try this thing. And he's documenting it. And it is insane because it's grabbing him. And he's like, I had to close it because I don't like the way it's making me feel. It's making me want to quit all the things I'm doing. And I'm like, imagine that, dude. but I agree, like, getting upside the head with the Bible is not the way. But if you're willing to, with your creator, go in like, okay, what do you have for me in here?
Right.
We could talk.
The way I explained it to Aaron, our co-host, was, he just recently came to faith about a year ago. And before he did, I looked at him and I just said, if you don't choose God, which is fine, what you're saying to me is that you know exactly what you're capable of from today till the day that you die.
Yeah.
And I was like, bro, you don't. Like, if you press into God and you open your heart, I was like, he'll take you places and bring things into your life that you could have never imagined.
This right here, dude, I can't imagine being where I am right now.
And it happens, it doesn't just happen once. It happens time and time and time and
more and more often. So,
and the more powerful it is, right?
Sought through prayer and meditation. I'm going to go back. But sought through, we're going to close up. I love the 12 steps says, it differentiates prayer and meditation. Because we're talking about conscious contact with our Creator. There is so much lost in the faith, the Christian faith, who are people who are afraid of meditating, which really means to close your eyes, close your mind, to
listen.
Like prayers talking.
And again, that's a label that it was put on it. Right?
That has become such a massive thing in my life. And like, my second favorite part of the day is going and closing the door, closing my eyes and listening. And I get so many amazing experiences from my Creator, just simple words. I mean, I had a realtor I was working with, and it was like, I wanted to throw my phone at the wall. And it was open
like that.
And I don't have those very often anymore. Yeah. And in my head, I was like, I'm just ready to like shut the door on this relationship. And I was like, I'm just gonna go to meditation. And I'm talking like we're talking now, the whisper came across. Mm-hmm. This is temporary. I was like, oh, thank you.
Dude, and that's the thing, right? Like, it's just this idea.
Well, that realtor, after we got that text me, I was like, hey, she texted me a solution and the problem went away immediately. It was temporary. I'm like, I would have.
Dude, and the thing is how easy is that moment to miss?
Oh, it's so easy.
You know what I'm saying? And those things, I'm going to leave you guys with this. Bro, you should come back on in a month. Like, for real. Like, I love the conversations that I have with you, because not only do I learn a lot of stuff, like, I feel like we're reframing for our generation, like, who Christ really is. Like, the truth of, like, you want to have this in your life, it's between you and him, period. You know, it doesn't matter what's going on out here. It doesn't matter what's going on out here. I want to leave you guys with this, and Cash will probably be back on very soon, but this is Tony Robbins. And if you don't think that you're a faithful person, I'm going to challenge you with this. We practice as human beings faith on a daily basis. And you do it when you get in your car and you drive, right? Because the only thing protecting you on the road is a little yellow line, right? So you are taking in faith that the other person or the thousands of other people that are on the road are going to also see that little yellow line and obey the rules. That's faith, dude. You're having faith in all of these other people to do the right thing so that you don't get hurt, right? We practice it every single day. We are created for faith. It lights us up, dude. Yeah, the most wonderful thing about life is that we are mortal, right? That we can die.
And it goes away eventually.
It's like we have one shot, dude, to do it, you know? And it's like, if you're in the why not? Why do people have spiritual awakenings in prison? You know, why does it always have to be rock bottom?
Hardship.
You know?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, if we can expedite that process and help people understand like who Christ is before that happens, like maybe it needs to happen, right? Maybe that is the journey, the path,
but it doesn't have to happen over and over and over and over again.
Right. I'm thinking next generation, like if we can really embolden them and embody them and equip them with this right idea of who Christ is and spirituality. Dude, can you imagine what they're capable of? You know, with the technology and things like that and human advancement, like all the things, man, like if we just come into this thing and connect to this thing and label it whatever you want, but that is moving in the same direction, right? And I say it over and over. It's why people that are sober are labeled as a superpower. It's enlightenment, dude. You're enlightened. You're seeing the world
and you're not
much
alone.
Differently than everybody else.
You're empowered.
Yes.
Would you, I guess I've been wanting to challenge you on this, Mitch. I would say that addiction is a superpower, not just sobriety.
Okay.
Because there are plenty of people that are sober, right, that have not gone through the challenge of addiction.
Sure.
But in my time in sobriety, I found that essentially we're faced with a decision where it's either get better, improve yourself, or perish.
Yep. Let's say, or die. That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
So, and there's a Carl Jung video that I watched that talks about that. And actually Jung was a big part of the big it's not commonly known, but they
Dr. Bob.
They met up with him. And there's like an hour-long video where he talks about how those who are in addiction are God's chosen ones.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is a way that we must connect with something greater than ourselves. Whether that be community here in this realm or on a higher level. Well, not or, it's on a higher level.
So you think the people that just have the addiction are, likely to go into the addiction or just have that superpower?
Yeah, because even like people die in addiction, of course, right? But what kind of waves did their death cause as well? Is something bad if it saves the life? Is a death bad if it saves the lives of millions or thousands?
I feel like you have a specific example in your mind. I mean, I'm attributing this to Charlie Kirk.
I knew that was going to come.
Because that's where my mind automatically goes. You can do it to Martin Luther, right?
Did you have one? I want to hear. Did you?
No, not really specifically like with my own experience, but it goes back to like what is good and what's bad. Like loss of life is never the option that people would choose.
The Bible says the death of a saint is precious in the eyes of God. Who's to say an addict?
Is it?
Right? Who just couldn't.
Dude, and the thing is if we can affect one heart, it worked. You know what I mean? Like all of this is worth it because it's eternity. And that's why I think, I want
to have a conversation, but I don't want to have it on camera because...
Well, maybe we should just leave this lingering nugget.
But I really want to open this up, dude, as well, but I want to open this up to other people who have these questions.
Yes, me too.
Like, email them, go back.
I'll give you access to that email too.
Put it on the post, like the comments, because these are some really hefty questions that were...
Well, and dude, it's smart too because let's see like what kind of ideas, misconceptions, conceptions, ideologies, whatever. Like I think that's a great idea.
Things that you want to on that we absolutely have brought up today and believe
because it is 100% like we are Bible thumping right now, but it's like it's so much different, dude. Like there's this perception of it in the world, right?
Right.
But we have this other perception of it because we've experienced grace. We've experienced that spiritual awakening, right? And it's like, I don't think that only this is reserved for addicts, and I don't think that's what you're saying. Like anybody can experience.
I agree with what you're saying. I know what you're saying. I think it's absolutely true.
Dude, I would say that most addicts at one point in time have asked themselves this question, like, what's the point?
Yeah.
That's why they continue to be addicts, because they don't have one.
Exactly, right? That's the Band-Aid. Right? Like that's the wound underneath, and alcohol is the Band-Aid too. Like, what's the point? Why am I actually here? Like, we feel something deeper than normal people. And it's evident with my wife, dude. Like, she's one of those people that, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing.
Good for her.
Exactly.
Like, God bless her, man.
Steady, calm,
and everything's okay, dude. It's like, and not that things are hard, but it's like she doesn't need the depth of.
Bro, it makes no sense to me.
I'm grateful because I need that in my house. My wife say my.
So that's what
leave me out of it. I'm like, yeah, for sure.
There are definitely people, and I'm sorry to say, I'm not sorry to say this. Those people are leaders. Those people are the leaders of the world. Those are the people that have that thing that's extra inside of them. Those are the leaders. And the problem, dude, if you look at what's going on in our world from a spiritual point of view, why is addiction and all that stuff so powerful right now? Because Satan is the master of deception, is all of this stuff, right? He's taking out all of those people that are powerful.
Yeah.
He's like, well, let's get them addicted to let's f their brains up, because if they're thinking straight, they could be insanely powerful.
That's a common conclusion.
That's where the superpower lies.
Like when people are really, really, really like their life is really, really like tough. It's because the enemy sees the power,
That's what I'm saying.
the seed that they are, and like,
Dude,
you can't let this.
that's what I told my buddy. I'm like, your life has been so up for so long because Satan has just tried to keep you here.
Do we gotta wrap this up, dude? I'm sorry, we done.
You have that power. You have that thing inside of you that the spirit world, the evil spirit world, is afraid of.
Yeah, it's a threat. You're a threat. I believe that now,
dude.
You couldn't tell me that back then.
Google this. This will your mind up.
Tried me.
There's a pastor that went to ChatGPT and said, "If you were Satan, what would you do?" That's all he said.
Yes.
It's terrifying what ChatGPT comes up with. Terrifying.
It's like right on course with what's
going on in
Yeah,
the world.
dude.
Subdue men, take them out of the equation, lower their testosterone,
Yeah.
take away their man.
Take the father out of the home.
Dude, you take the father out, everybody else is fair game.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where it's like, I'm going back to this whole thing, masculinity and what it really means. And so, dude, like this, I think I'm glad we talked about this at the end because this is going to tee us up for the next time we get together.
Masculinity, testosterone.
Yeah, dude, and just like what it means. No, well, just what it means. Just what it means. Like, it'll just tee us up for the next one.
Absolutely. Dude.
And I love this because we do that spiritual deep dive, right? And I'm trying to play devil's advocate a little bit and come from this worldly perspective of like, yeah, but like, God, you know, like those people that are like, well, that.
Because how do you bridge that? There's no bridge.
Totally.
Go there.
Totally. And so it's like, okay, I agree. Like, yeah, that, but like, why?
And that's.
You know, like, give me a good reason why you're saying that.
I am open to learning why you are the way that you are, because I cannot be who I'm created to be if I'm not willing to look at the other side and say, hey,
Totally.
this is where you stand, and
All right.
now is why.
Dude, and this is what I tell my kids is, I can't truly help you if you don't tell me the truth. That's the reason the truth is so important.
Yeah.
It's so that I can speak into your soul, not just to a problem, right? Like, you need to tell me everything that's going on so that I can manage your heart in the right way.
And help you defeat the shame.
Exactly. And give you the tools and the strength that you need to go and manage these situations, right? So I'm going to end it with that, dude. Like we said, do you have ADHD or ADD?
I touch.
I'm like, you get Cash and I in the same room, dude, and it's like just ideas of pew, 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 pew. But I love it, man.
I have a couple things I guess to add right at the end. Mitch, you said that. Well, question for Cash, and then a question for Mitch as well. You said that you think addiction is Satan trying to take people out. Why do you believe that?
I think the people that struggle with addiction have the capability of looking farther, of asking the question why. When you start asking the question why, you start to uncover things that weren't there before, right? I feel like as a society, we're told like 8 to 5, go to work, come home, pay your bills, be your family man. And like, that's where we keep our minds, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's the steady line. That's the American dream, right? Like that's what we've been told most of our lives. I think the people that really struggle with addiction are the ones that are like, yeah, but like, I'm going to get off this line and just like go burn this tree down real quick.
Because the line's a joke.
And see what happens. Right? Like it's that person that's like, well, what would happen if I did this? Right? Like, what would happen if I just pushed this a little farther? It's that mentality, right? And it's that I think is so dangerous in the spirit world because it causes that person, they're never going to stop asking why, ever. And they're going to dive farther and farther and farther and farther into something until they really do find the truth.
Wouldn't that be a gift, though?
Yes, 100%.
Then why would that be related to
Because this is what's happening in the spirit world. It's the gift from the Father, and Satan is taking that gift and twisting it with addiction, with pornography, with all of the alcohol. He's changing our perspectives of ourselves that we should have in Christ. Right? So it's you said that there's no like something about the spiritual world and not being, it's like only good. It's not true, man. And the story didn't start with creation if you're talking about spirituality. The story started well before we were ever created.
Sure.
You know, Satan goes away from God. Like there's a whole good and evil battle that happens before we're ever even created. And then we are brought into that battle as warriors put on this planet, right, to focus on that spirit realm, right, and to protect ourselves, our families, and the people around us to share the gift of Christ with him. Right? So I do think that as people, it is our job to ask the question why, to dive deeper, to go into it, because that's what God wants us to do in a relationship with him, right? The more we press in, the more equipped we become to handle that battle in the spiritual world, because ultimately in the Bible, everything is going to end the way that Revelations describes it.
Sure. Right? I guess the reason why I asked the question is, for me, asking the question why is the beginning of knowledge. Yeah, and that's what Jesus did. That I'm kind of a little bit out of my comfort zone as far as knowledge this whole conversation is slightly out of my comfort zone just because of my background. But Jesus did that very exact thing. Exactly. He questioned why. He questioned the church's why.
Not only that, but he challenged it.
He challenged it, yes. Yeah, of course.
So you asked a really good question. Addiction is good, right? Because it drives us to find our creator. Mm-hmm. Essentially what you're saying. He says addiction is from Satan. And you question, well, how can something good come up from Satan? Right? Which it can't, right? It's the absence of good that Satan is offering. There's a story and I am a Bible thumper. I apologize. But I think this speaks directly to, it's the first book of the Bible. People say it was written by Moses. It's not the first book of the Bible. It's the oldest apparent book of the Bible. Story of Job. If you know this story, heard the story of Job. Yeah. So the beginning, it says God is in meetings with, God's meeting with the sons of God, right? And Satan shows up, right? And he says, God says, specifically Satan, have you tried my son Job? Mm-hmm. Right? And so God invites darkness into Job's life.
Essentially makes a bet.
Yeah, kind of, to prove a point.
Yeah.
And God's like, Satan's like, well, you got your hand on it, dude. And he goes and kills his kids. And he says, well, he still has his health. Take your hand off himself. He goes and takes his health. Right? And his wife ends up saying, curse God and die. So like that, in that moment, right, God allows Satan to just pour out absolute terror onto his life. And then it's like the hardest book for me to read, because it's like 40 chapters of just all three of his friends being like, dude, you're an idiot, curse God and die, you deserve all this. And God and Job is like, nah, dude, I'm righteous. Like he straight up says, like, I'm without sin in this, man. This is not fair. And at the very, very end, God shows back up and straightens everybody out. And it says, and this is why prayer groups are based upon this, at Job 42:10, it says, Job prayed for his friends, he was restored double what he had lost, right? He was restored double, having gone through all of this that was taken from him. And I think it's no difference than Satan showing up to God and said, that guy Mitch, he's yours, right? Yeah, it's obvious now. You were always says, yeah, but you got his hand on him. You know, you're protecting them. All right, I'll take my hand off. Satan says, here's alcohol. And then he ravaged your life. And you come back and you pray for your friends and you restore, but you go back after your creator and he's restoring you double. I think those things are not mutually exclusive. I think there can be darkness allowed and it'd be ordained good.
Dude,
which is crazy.
There's a choice inside.
Yeah.
Well, and there's a choice inside of that too for us, right? Like you can go into a dark room and choose to find what you're looking for in the dark, or you can turn on the light. You know, and it's whenever you choose light, it will overcome the darkness.
Dude, you had a second thing you said you wanted to ask.
Yeah, so I guess just to kind of wrap it up, I wanted to, in the beginning of the episode, there was a lot of talk about sin, and then obviously it's kind of moved into the bringing up Satan. What is sin and Satan? Well, what is that? What does it mean? Not mean to you, but like, what are your definitions of that?
So the word sin, and this is the word sin is an archery term. Okay,
can you shoot the camera?
The word sin is just an archery term. All that means is to miss the mark. Okay, right? Which nobody doesn't do. Mm-hmm. That's all it means, right? The problem with sin is when we accept the mark miss, put down the bow, and walk away and say, I'm okay. I'm okay with where it's at. Because God says, no. I've made you for excellence, and I want you to be great in what I've created you to do. So you have to go back up, and you got to keep. And we have different targets. This is a home life. This is the first world, career, but all these things. But sin, all it means is to miss the mark. Like that. That's it. That doesn't mean I turn my back on God. I've ruined it leads to that a lot of times. But it's not as, going back to my vision, like it's building something. It's doing something. Satan, I used to not believe, like after all of it, I didn't believe that he was real, and I've heard, like, we have a shadow, right? And there's a lot, Carl Jung going there, there's truth to some of that. But having been where I've been, experienced what I experienced, there is 100% a prince of darkness. 100%. He exists. He's got minions that are running things, and his main goal is to take you out, and he feeds off of your fear, shame, your doubt. Best thing you can do is, you could not be doing something wrong. As long as he can, there's things called false shame, that he can make you believe what you're doing are wrong. That works. You're even if you're ashamed about something that you shouldn't be ashamed about, it doesn't matter. You're ineffective. All of a sudden, he's real, very real,
dude. And I think this all goes into this misconception of Christ, right? Where it's like, I think he's done such a good job confusing what Christ actually wants in our life for an entire generation. That now people are so afraid of God, and they're willing more to go towards the thing that's actually killing their soul, than to wake up and be like, hey, I'm going to try this other path.
Did I answer your question, dude?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I don't know. Like we said, this is a good segue into another episode, because good and evil, and it's all how you identify with it, I think, too, and how do you plug into it, because it's going to be different for everybody.
Yeah.
But I do want to say this: shattereddarkness5@gmail.com. I'm going to give Cash access to that email, and honestly, email us. Like, if you're angry about something we said, that's totally fine.
I'd love that.
We actually really want to talk to that person. Like, truthfully, if this stirs something negative up inside of you, please reach out to us, because one, we're not trying to stir up anything negative. We're just simply sharing our very intense spiritual experiences, in hopes that other people can find it. So really, this is our perspective, our journeys. We'd love to hear about yours. shattereddarkness5@gmail.com. Anyways, Cash, bro, you are just like, I love talking to you, man.
I love talking about this.
Yeah, me too. And this is like something that's like on the top of my life list for next year, is like to really get a better understanding of God and like how he's operating in our life. And so I love these conversations, and you're a wealth of knowledge, and I really appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Glory to God.
Yeah,
I am.
Amen, dude.
Knucklehead like the rest of them.
Well, and we're sorry this episode's 2 hours. Obviously, we could go on forever, but we just really appreciate you guys. Should have said this at the beginning, but likes, subscribe, share. We're on all the major platforms. YouTube's our big one right now. Spotify, Apple Music. Excuse me. But yeah, anyways, we'll be back next week. And we're excited to put that episode out for you. All right. I'm going to let you go. We'll see you later.